नमस्ते। मैं हूं गौरव त्रिपाठी। मैं और मेरी टीम लेकर आए हैं एक नई पॉडकास्ट सीरीज़ कोड केओस क्लैरिटी। ये सीरीज़ है जीपीयूज़, एआई और रिलेटेड टेक्नोलॉजीज़ के बारे में, उनके इम्पैक्ट, अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ और चैलेंजेस के बारे में। तो यदि आपका इंटरेस्ट है लेटेस्ट टेक, इनोवेशन, प्रोडक्ट्स और चैलेंजेस के अराउंड, तो प्लीज़ सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें हमारे चैनल को। ये सीरीज़ हम स्पॉटिफाई पर भी लेके आ रहे हैं, तो प्लीज़ वहाँ भी हमें फॉलो करें। योर सपोर्ट मीन्स द वर्ल्ड फॉर अस, सो प्लीज़ लाइक, शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब। थैंक यू।
Today we have with us here uh, Ramesh Narayanaswamy, CTO at Birla Capital, and we of course cover his journey and how it's been. What was the first time when you owned a gadget?
Wow. Yeah. Actually, I think my father owned more Gadget than me when I was young. But what I remember, I don't think I owned, but I leased. This was a ZX, Spectrum computer, 1989 or 90. Wow. I went for a class. It was a summer, 2 months. I really liked it. Then I went and asked my father to, but he said, it might not be useful to you. So then I struck a deal with, the institute, and then they gave it to me. They leased it for me for 6 months, which my father kindly accommodated. And that's
How old you were back then?
so 89. So I'm 51 now. So you can guess. So I would be 15.
So at 15 in 89 you had a computer.
I had a computer for 6 months. I definitely had.
And which institute was it?
See, I don't think it exists. So this was the time when ZX computer people. Oh, okay. It's called a ZX Spectrum. I remember very well. The programming language was basic. I know you write very, very simple code, have it, and then that was my first recollection. Because since I was the one dude, all my friends used to come, so we used to play around with it. So that's my first gadget.
So we can say that you were into computers, right from the start.
I kind of liked, because I think there have been a bit of influence on people around me. I think a lot of my sister's friends were my friends, and my sister is 8 years elder to me. So our neighbor, she was doing MCA at that time. Okay, in 1989. So we go to their house. There will be computer books lying, and she used to do project in IIT Madras. So we used to go there. Actually, we used to go there to play games, on weekends. But I think it interested me, in terms of how do you think differently? How do you write programs? Very simple things. So I would say interest was definitely there. So that when I came to my 11th and 12th, I did take computer science in CBSEs. You can take it as an additional, one more subject which you did. So which I took. So in that way, I think interest was always there. But I never thought I will become a CTO or someone in technology, because my primary interest was always chemistry. So might be I would say computer science was second. But even
I should say that's one thing probably we share. My interest was also when I was studying was in chemistry. And what was the first program that you remember that you really
I tried very hard. I can't. I'm sure they would have given us a hello world for sure. And I can't recollect. What would have been the.
But then you continued on the programming side.
So yeah, after that, it's 11th, 12th we did, and I think if you see in those days, the fundamentals was very covered in the CBSE syllabus. We pretty much we did Pascal, and then I went to Bits first year. We had to do.
See, we'll come to that. Bits. So the decision to get into bits, or I should say engineering, that was yours only, or was there like family also? Oh, you are good at maths, computer science, you should do this.
No, actually, I always wanted to be a chemistry teacher, right? Because my aunt was a gold medalist in chemistry, and my sister was also almost equivalent of that, right? So my focus was largely chemistry, but as I said, people in that time and age, computers. I think there are a lot of people who did something about computer science around me. So it was quite pertinent for me to look at it. But I actually went to BITS Pilani. I think after me there are only 2 admissions in after me. So I just got into BITS. My first degree was biology, right? Because BITS has a dual degree, right? You take your first degree, and based on the marks you get in the first year, you get your you enroll yourself into the second degree. So there's no way I could have got computer science or anything. But even though I scored good marks, so that's what it is, right? And then the biological sciences was very related to chemistry, so I was very happy to do that course. Then eventually I did instrumentation engineering. But as a part of the curriculum, we did C pretty early. Then we did microprocessors. So I think that was kind of the college taking you to the next level in each aspect, and that's how I would say. I would never say that it was like I need to do computer science, and I don't think so. I don't think so. I ever had that, but I liked it. As I always think, no, I never like I should say a field, but I always like topics in some fields. So that allowed me to study different things in different way, and I think that has helped me in my career, and that's how I would position this.
So at BITS also, then you, as you said, so C and C++, probably you continue programming and
Yeah, absolutely, right. And then since my second degree was instrumentation engineering, you get into digital electronics. Then you did microprocessors. Then you did quite a number of projects revolving around that in terms of. And then there was always an interest in bioinformatics. So bioinformatics was a very upcoming field, right? Very much the start, correct, right? Because the sequencing of human genome pretty much started at that time, and there was fairly I used to remember it. There used to be 2 programs. One is called as BLAST and another is called as FASTA. My God, I can remember even that, right? So essentially, you give the sequence of gene, you will get a report back saying, against the database of genome database, and then you used to do analysis out of it. So I think that was quite in my mind. I thought maybe that's the field I will go in, because it is kind of a culmination of both kind of chemistry and computer science. So that was in my mind during BITS for sure.
And how was the general tech scene and in BITS at that time?
I think computer science was the forefront of it, right? There is no doubt, right? It was a very highly sorted degree. Only the best of people got a chance to do it. But the beauty of the curriculum of BITS is that electives, you can choose any course you want, right? And there is no restriction on what you can do. So we did all computer programming, and during our there is an event called as Apogee, which happens every year. So for a pop-up that we actually wrote quite a bit of code. Some of my seniors were doing projects, held them to write a bit of code, etc. So it was there, right? Because we know that by the time we all know that something, if you don't do anything with computer science, you're going to be in trouble. And then if you're really looking at placements at the time, pretty much most of the companies which would come, the majority of them got placed in some kind of an electronics/computer science job, right? The manufacturing job, only very few of them went, right? And of course, TCS used to come. I got hired in TCS through campus. So there it does not kind of, right? You've got good computer basics, but you could have a very different degree than get a job, right? So by the time people like you who want to do a job, it was quite clear that you need to go down that path. And that was quite evident in the campus and, even around us, because every semester break, when we come back home, eventually we went on to do some kind of computer courses as training, right? We see databases were just coming up. At the time, there are very many institutions which was teaching databases. We went for those kind of course. But I think it was kind of set, right? Because it was, it is very similar to what AI is now.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm a student in college, I would be really chasing after it. Yeah, then that time might be we chased after some kind of a programming language.
And after BITS, so what was on your mind? Like you wanted to go for a job here, move to US, go for higher studies. How was it?
So my higher studies, 1996 was a very difficult year in the US. The federal budget was cut to do number of research on the biology side. So there was only one admission I got to do my PhD, and my father's view was very clear. You will not make it. He literally said in so many words that if you want to do, you can be on your own. So I think that was one step back, and then I did get TCS in campus. So then my view at the time was, okay, looks like the PhD is out of.
You mentioned like in that year, probably in the whole of country, they were.
Oh, very very few in my batch. A couple of my batchmates went. I think majority of them struggled to get. Okay, and then they had very good marks. It was more the condition in the US, and then quite a number of them actually went the year after. And that was a kind of a turning point year. So I think I said I kept the PhD ambitions. I think I let it go quite quickly because I thought it's going to be quite difficult. To take it to the next level. And then there was, I won't say not support from home. I think my father was right in terms of saying that, look, that's going to be a very, very long time for you to maybe do a PhD or to teach. It's going to take a long time. So see what else you can do. At least give it an attempt. If you can't do, you can always go back and do science, right? So joined the TCS. See, by the time Y2K was at its peak, 1996, right? So the world, everyone thought the world will stop. And then all the IT companies that are doing a lot of Y2K projects. So we all know that there was kind of a future if you get into it, at least for the next 5 years. But I was very lucky when I joined. I actually got into a Citibank project to launch credit cards for Korea. Citibank was launching credit cards for Korea. That's the first program ever I wrote. I still remember, to generate an embossing file, and it was written in COBOL, right? COBOL was not very, in program language, but I'm saying, but now when you say that you can write, programs using English, that was just typewriting in COBOL. So might be people like me will still have a bit of a chance even in the next coming years. So it was very good, right? So might be I was quite lucky because 99 out of 100 would go to a Y2K project in TCS at the time, right? Might be I was really the 1% or 2% got into a proper development project, understanding the business. So that's how my career started. So I did get a job in the US again for a Y2K. Then I was talking to my boss in Citibank. He said, "Why don't we come to Singapore? We'll give you a job. No need to go to US." Interesting. And my mother lived in Singapore before her marriage. Her view was, "Oh no, I don't think she remembered anything." But she said, "Singapore is a great place. You please go." I said, "Okay, I will go." And that's how I landed in Singapore in 97, 98. And then joined Citibank, to implement number of credit card projects. And as always say,
that was the time probably when Singapore still wasn't that big a hub. That
no, not really at all, right? And two things happened. One, Singapore was upcoming at the time, and really the Asian crisis happened in March of 1998, right? So Southeast Asia really went for a tailspin. Now looking back, I know we say Singapore is a very expensive place now, but I can tell you the price of the car today, might be 10% more than the price of the car in 1998.
Wow.
But the economy cracked so much, right, that the country took quite a bit of time to come out of it. But Citibank had the regional hub. It was a very, very large setup which Citi had committed, and then it was fully functional by the time we went. It used to already have 600 to 700 people working on all kinds of, because they were centralizing everything in Singapore, because infrastructure in Singapore even at that time was phenomenal, right? Talent was very good. We were getting people, and Singapore is one country which used mainframe computer COBOLs in the government way, way long before anyone else. The HDB used to use, CPF used to use, so the skill set was kind of available. So in that way, it was just fascinating start. I think as the luck was there in terms of going there, I would also see. And to get a employment pass is far more easier than what is today. So I think all those things helped us, to a large extent.
But then it didn't come to you of being there only, settling in Singapore or elsewhere rather than coming back to India.
Actually I'm a Singaporean, so I did live in Singapore for many, many years. I also lived in Kuala Lumpur for 7 years, 5 years as a part of Standard Chartered, 2 years in CIMB. Pretty much a lot of my projects were done in the region, but the good thing is, since we were in hubs, I also did quite a bit of projects in Latin America. I've spent quite a bit of time in in Latin America. So I think it is like this. As your career progresses, I think for me is um, how do you do things differently and how you also do different things. I think both were important to me. Okay, because when I started in banking, pretty much I used to do a lot of projects around credit card and secured lending. To the extent you get so much of functional knowledge, then you really don't know whether you are a technologist or not. Right? See, banking still functionality is the king. Well, technology will help, fintechs will come and go, but ultimately it is the license and the regulator, right? Which is very functional in nature. Of course, now a lot of technicalities have come into it. So hence, I want to do something very different, right? So after almost 2012, I joined Singapore Post. I was the first CIO for Singapore Post and the National Post in a very different way, right? How do you take a very old business and create an e-commerce company?
That was a very interesting shit, like coming from finance.
Absolutely. Yeah. Take this much credit to my boss at the time, who hired me, Dr. Wolfgang Baer, and the board. And I thought they were taking more risk than me giving the job, but I would still go on to say it is one of the best jobs I've done because it really helped me to convince or agree with me that I know actually technology. We did cloud in 2013, way back. We did a mobile application in 2014. Mobile, I would assume, by the time it had come, we were the first to do those parcel lockers, right? And if you go to Singapore, if you see the parcel lockers will be like this, right? In the initial version, what we used to do is there used to be a keypad. Okay, then you press the keypad and one of the locker opens. Then we said we did not solve any problem, right? Because when your boxes are like that, you should have the ability to open every box at the same. But that means you can have 15 people doing at the same time. So we were one of the first one to crack a problem. It's a very simple enhancement which we did, just using the Bluetooth which is available in the phone. We wrote a very simple software. You go there, it will tell you in which box your package is in. You take your phone and swipe it twice, the thing will open. Right? Yeah. That's the beauty of software at that time. So I think we did a lot of fascinating things. And logistics, I always feel is one industry where technology will be used more than anyone else, and we are seeing it today, right? If you take any of the delivery company we have, or Uber for that matter, anything which moves, technology plays a far more better and impactful role. And that's what we learned in Singapore Post. We wanted to do drones, we wanted to do a lot of things. Of course, you all booed out after some time, but it's still a great institution. It tries to invent itself. It's a very old business, right? It's not easy.
Challenges from a technology perspective appeal to you more, like from on the finance side of things or on the logistics side of?
No, I think both comes with its own complexities. But what happens in a logistics, right? You have to know something physically in between, right? Whereas if you see in banking or financial services, if you keep on doing straight through without no touching, you will complete a transaction. Then of course it needs to be secured, it needs to be perfect, it needs to comply, etc., right? But I always call logistics as a box in the middle problem, right? You can do whatever technology you want. Now I have to move this. Yeah. So that really requires a very different kind of engineering which comes into play. That's why robotics will play a huge role in and it is already playing. Right? We have seen a lot of warehouses which are run by robots now. Right? Now the question is it possible that I send something to you which a human never touches? I think that's going to take a lot of time, right? Whereas in banking, it's possible, right? I mean, to pay, you see, the emergence of UPI or emergence of any kind of credit or a lending or a payment product in India, we won't touch anything, right? You just give your phone number, you get a loan on the other side. So that I think is a difference, because there, I think what it helped me to think was not just straight through, but how do you actually create very efficient way of doing things. Another simple problem I will tell you, right? People go and give delivery, and the same time there could be opportunity for them to pick up something. Okay, and this is classic, traveling stage, right? But how do you solve at a country level? It's not easy, right? And you should also give the choice to the postman or the logistic, whether he wants to take it or not. So these are all very, we did buy a solution from a German company at the time, and then we integrated it, and it really worked extremely well, right? So in that way, the box in the middle creates much more challenges for logistics. Whereas in banking, it is how do you do straight through, secure, it is perfect. It does not have any issues. It isn't, and it is just both sides of technology which we need to sort out.
So again, looking at your experience, across both verticals, what would be your take on somebody who's looking at building tech across such diverse verticals? Because typically, and you would have seen too, like, people have this blocker in mind that, oh no, I've been in this domain, right? So yeah, I understand this, I have the tech, but then solving the problem in a different domain, typically he will have a block.
Yes.
How do you think?
No, I think it's a great question, and I at least tell people who come to me for guidance or to my own team is that always make an attempt to learn from how the other industry has solved. I think it is very important, right? Otherwise, what happens is you actually become a very functional expert. You don't become a technical expert. That especially is true for financial services, right? Because there are people who will just tell you rattle all the regulation, and because that's important, and because you make a mistake, you lose your license, so you don't have the choice. So I think it is very important for people to understand how a same problem is solved in a different context. Is there a learning in it? For example, scaling up systems. I think the best is done in e-commerce business, right? Because when you really create a promotion and then say 10,000 people buying tickets at that point in time, same time, the problem is solved very differently, right? And today I don't think many banks can solve that, right? Because banks operate in a certain way. How do you create your disaster recovery strategies? I always, my view is actually build a different application, very minimal functionalities. Banks like Monzo are already doing that, right? Because that means you literally run two different kind of thing and not a copy of each other. Some industries do that, right? So I think it is very important for people in technology to understand how a certain problem is solved in a different industry, how it is implemented, and how it is managed, how it is governed. And then I think we will all find different solutions. And I think that thinking has helped me in a number of ways. And even in our current setup, right? Because we run very different kinds of products, financial services product, and then we are also the manufacturer of the product. How do you solve for a lending system? How can you take that learning and do it for insurance? Can you take something from insurance and do it in asset management? Because there are clever ways of doing it. It will cut short your time. It will cut short money. You don't need to spend so much. It also creates significant efficiency, and that's, I think, is a very critical skill set people should have.
From an organizational perspective, innovation, what does this mean to you in terms of, like, just it's a buzzword, or is it something which is possible to build as a part of the culture?
No, absolutely. I think it is doable, and I think most organizations have done in the last 5-6 years. And I also feel COVID has helped people to innovate much faster. Okay, because imagine, right? 5 years back, you had to go to a branch to do something. Now you don't need to do, right? I mean, today you can open an account. Okay, everything online. You don't need to do. It is an innovation in my view, and the regulators are also helping that. I think the key thing, what we need to keep in mind when we're innovating it, it need not be a new thing always, right? If you can do something differently and create an output much faster, much efficient, we should classify that as innovation. I think that's extremely important. I mean, I'm sure, right? We always, I really liked, the camera on your laptop or an iPad, right? If you want that to be secure, actually put a plastic tape. That's enough. We don't need to buy a software to do that. So I think people have to do it, but I think people have to be conscious about innovation. I think innovation, my view, is asking the right questions. If you get the right question, then I think you will get a different set of answer. I think we have to spend quite a bit of time understanding the question and the nuances of it as to why you need to do it, and a different solution will emerge. An organization like us, we spend quite a bit of time on innovation. We run structured programs. We run a program called as Infinite, where we source in problems, get people to give a solution, and we are seeing a fascinating output, right? Because if I'm able to even cut down even millisecond in a transaction, and that's really value for us, right? Because you process less, the customer gets something much faster, the error is less, so everyone is happy at the end of the day. And it might not be very obvious for anyone what we have done, but for an organization, when I look as an entire organization, it's actually innovation for us. So it's extremely key. And I think in India, organizations innovate much faster. Leave the jugaad aspect of it, but I think people do proper innovation in my view. And that's where fintechs play a huge role. Without fintechs, it will be very difficult for the financial services system to try to move forward.
Yeah, so this Infinite program sounds very interesting. Can you tell us more about it? What's it about?
I think you see the whole thought process was how do you do innovation in a very structured way, right? Because we have also seen, people feel that if you do innovation, it needs to be open-ended and you can do anything you want, right?
You need a lot of budget.
Budget is one, but I think it is the process. I think we thought the process is very important. So first, as I said, the question, what is that you're going to solve, right? We also don't want to go and solve every single problem on it, or the problem which are not relevant for us or not relevant for the business, right? Because as a technology head, I might think this problem is very important for me, right? But the marketing will say, no, this is not important, right? Because ultimately, we also have to use a customer lens and see what customer problem we are solving, right? So that program is pretty much structured in a way where we really ensure that people and the entire organization participates to give us questions. Then we take those questions, filter those questions, go through a process. Then we actually invite people to come and say whether you can solve it. If there is a solution, we try to implement it. Sometimes you might see it and say, look, it's a great solution. We will see how to support them. And it has run very well. And now I think we're also working on what would be next, right? Because it is also important. We also keep changing the way we do things. So I think it has run very well for 3 years. Our business participates extremely, and it is actually, if you see the initial process, actually run by the business, right? I ensure from a tech standpoint, it is a solution which is scalable, which fits in the regulatory framework. It is a good piece of software, but how it touches the customer, what problem it solves, how it helps business run. So it's a joint, work between business and tech to create value.
How do you make sure or ensure that it kind of does not remain exclusive to one team, or maybe it's like it happened to your team or your area of influence?
Great question. So see, that's a listen, right? I think a lot of times if you see the original innovation program if you take 5-10 years back, it used to be run by technology, right? Now that's the first thing, right? I don't think technology should be the driver of the innovation. I think once you do business, see, the moment you make it business, it is end to end, right? Because business pretty much owns everything, including technology, right? So because ultimately, I think today I still feel business thinks much clearer about customer than what technology thinks. I think technology is coming up there because of fintechs and the new age companies. But in traditional companies, the understanding of customer to the kind of functions which are behind are not that great, right? Because they're more worried about their own way of doing things. So I think giving it to the business is the first step. And second thing is, as I said, get the right questions. Is that question what value it is going to add? It is going to add a customer value, it is going to add a capacity value, or it is going to have a capital value. I think we need to be sure. And then I think that whole process kicks in quite keenly. And then also when we look for solutions, we just don't look only in India, we just look on a fairly larger scale. So we do have partners who helps us to bring solution providers from different part of the world, and then see how we can do it and then implement it.
And any examples can you share around this program, which is any success which is brought out?
So quite a number of things. We really looked at, is there a better way to do customer communication? Is there a better way to do statements? Is there a better way to do our KYC process? Is there any clever way of doing it? We looked at quite a number of things around our cyber security, right? Is there a way to do vendor management, for example? If you're onboarding a vendor today, you have to go through a lot of process. Is there a way where we can do it very well so that I know that I've not breached any compliance? So I think you've done quite well in number of areas.
And would it be safe to assume that Infinite program itself and all of it that you're talking about, it's leaning heavily on AI, Ron?
Oh, see, I think I think AI would be a separate topic by itself for any organization, right? Because it is also, I feel it would be quite dangerous to club AI under innovation, right? Because I would think AI would be over innovation.
Oh, interesting.
We have to look at it because it's going to impact. I think more and more, if you see a lot of the definitions and kind of things what people are saying around the world, I think the closest is saying that AI is going to change the way you work, right? So hence, a solution could have an AI component, and hence it could be narration. But the broader view of AI could be is that how work itself will change, right? Is there a different way of doing everything what you see, right? So I would position it that way. So we do quite a bit of. Look, AI is a buzzword, but it is a meaningful buzzword for me, right? Because if the more and more you look at it as to the kind of examples which we are seeing, simple things like summarization, removing the language barriers for people, right? Because in most places, English is the language, but many people are not comfortable with English. Now you add AI in it, suddenly that whole thing, the productivity thing changes, right? And Copilots helps you to do a lot of things. It's real that you can cut down your time to make a deck, right? It is real that you can verify things faster. It is real that you can summarize things faster. So I think it is a completely different paradigm, and where AI will be used in every component of what we do, and then it will show us a different kind of output.
Can you give any example around how AI has helped, AI or generative AI or LMs, has helped you do something on ground, very much, which has been part of the business, which earlier simply either wasn't possible or was just prohibitive because of cost survival.
Right, so I'll break down this into two parts, right? What has happened in the last 1 year is there are a number of proof of concepts and pilots have been done, okay, across the industry, right? And there has been a challenge in scaling up this to production because of multiple reasons. Okay, I'll give an example. So there is one project which we did in terms of when a customer kind of sends you complaint. Sometimes he sends you multiple emails saying what the problem is, right?
Right.
Now to collate all those things and answer in a single way nicely is actually is a good problem to solve. Otherwise, what happens is every CS agent replies it, the customer also get confused, we also get confused, right? Now, is it so easy that you can take an AI, train the model and do? The answer is no, right? Because you don't know what the customer is going to ask, right? And you have to also realize sometimes it could be a question he asked, it was never a problem.
Yeah.
So now there are a lot of companies, a lot of partners who are helping us to do that. But how do you take that? But the final output still needs to be verified. The human in the loop becomes important because now we need to see it is an aggregation of a lot of things coming through. We need to be very, very sure because otherwise it could create a reputational risk, it could create a regulatory risk, so on and so forth, right? So that's one example. Second is, we kind of use AI to write business requirement documents. Go in a meeting, everyone is saying their view of what it is. Are we able to summarize everything, put in a document and give it to people? So we feel definitely there is a use case for it. We have tried, it works. But now how do you take it to the next level? How do you institutionalize it is not, it's a challenge. Because now you need everyone to participate in that format.
Yeah.
There will be someone who would say, no, I have to review this. I'm not going to give it to the next level. And the review is mandatory. It is required, right? Based on, so now some projects, can you go on to it? And see, now people are taking it to the next level. Oh, someone asked me, can you also write the code because you already have the software? You can, right? Again, we tried that out. But then suddenly you end up with 70% of dead code being written, right? Because it's going to take time. I think what people should really bear in mind is we don't need to solve all the AI problems in December of this year. It is how the world is going to operate. Things will come, things will change, but things will change very fast. I'm of that view, right? Audit, classic use case for AI and agents. So we have just completed a POC where the question which we were asking is that can an agent create another agent or always I should create an agent?
So very interesting.
Okay. So then someone came up with the concept of, okay, you create a mother agent and give it. That will decide how many agents it will create. Right? So I said, fine, let's try it out. Because if you go down the other route, no, it is my solution. Right? So now we are trying to push that bar and say, look, can we allow the agents to do it? Because otherwise you could just end up in an automation. So, I mean, the way we differentiate automation versus AI is if you have 10 steps, right? You say step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You keep on repeating it's automation, right? If you do an AI, you have to find a step 2.5, right? Or you will find a step 11, right? That's how the system learns. Otherwise, if it keeps on doing those 10 steps, It is automation. Might be I would have used generative AI some point. I don't have a problem with that. But our view is that will this system find me a step 2.5 or 3.5 or 4.5? And then if say 1 Git 4.5, I can finish off 11. I don't need to go through all these things. So see, it's tough. Right? We'll have to find the use cases for it, but definitely audit, compliance, very simple patching of systems. We run pretty much all the OS. We run so many servers. How do we really ensure that the servers are up to date? Because it's a regulatory ask, right? Because by doing it, I get the ability to do this on a daily basis. It is going to cost me a bit, but I'll be always compliant, right? I will be always latest. I don't have an issue. So I think that's another use case which we are seeing. Third, if you see in the loan processing, I think there is a lot of scope for getting the documents, what we call as a CAM to the customer, right? So that he has got everything, with him immediately. All can be auto-generated today. Otherwise, you need to create a template. The template needs to be looked at. You write a program to, put in the amount, tenor. You won't need to do all those kind of things. It could be multilingual. At a stroke of a button, you don't need to worry about if the customer says that, look, I want this in Bengali, you can give it to him in Bengali. So I think the real use cases are all there.
On the language bit, actually, you
are seriously, if you're saying, right, I mean, if you see the manufacturing side, right, the machinery comes, I was told that it comes with predominantly German manuals, right? And then you implement in a plant in east of India, and the person is going to ask in Oriya or Bengali, right? And the person who did the translation, he's going to look at the English translation of the German document. Now that whole process you can circumvent, right? It is all real, it is accurate. And I think language, that problem in my view, it is kind of solved, no? And I think, and in a country like India, you'll have a lot of impact on that, right? In India, language is a challenge, right? In terms of how do we do it, and might be even if you go to Japan or if you see a lot of things in Italy, they're all still run in their own language. Might be we are missing out certain things, but hopefully this translation will help us to unlock more value in terms of what exactly it means, and then might be we'll end up in a better solution. There are definitely models in terms of credit models. I think credit models always used machine language. Okay, ML was always there, right? Now, is there an opportunity?
In one of the first applications,
it was big time, right? I mean, you're right. Might be 15, 20 years back. You had the data, and the bureau scores are a great example, right? It's really a machine language which tells you. So there could be an overlay on that. Contracts, right? Getting the key, points in contracts. In fact, I was telling my team, right? I want to create an agent. Which I just want to call as, the CTO's mini agent. Right? See, if you start off in any partnership discussion, it's very standard, right? First meeting you go, I will ask them to send an NDA, they will ask me to send an NDA, then we get into tiff of which NDA to done. Then there is a very standard deck which is presented, what you do, how you do. I tell what is the strategy. Why can't we do this entire process between two agents? So in the first meeting, I'm actually giving an exact problem and you're solutioning, right?
Well, that's very interesting because as I think of it,
because we spend so much data.
The information is static, right? It's not that it's changing.
Absolutely static. I also know it. And everyone knows it. We have the same questions, same answers given. And we always find fault saying that, why you're saying that, but this logo, what did this logo do? And I'm saying, right, why don't in fact, we really want to do that. Maybe we'll take it in sometime in the second quarter. You want to really find a partner who would be willing to do it and then say, look, what could be a 15-day engagement? You finish off in 20 minutes and the output is given. The only thing I need to do the summary and say, if it is not relevant, no, I can look, it's actually not relevant at all for me. Yeah. Right? Because there is no judgment involved. It is actual fact, right? If you're giving me a solution, if I don't have the problem,
correct,
I don't need it. Yeah. Right? So I think possibilities are infinite. I think we are just, starting, and I think, other industries will have, in my view, much more higher impact, right? Either in life sciences or in logistics, e-commerce, banking, because of the way financial services are run, right? There is quite a bit of black and white which is there, right? Yeah. So there, if you do the rule part, it will be well, but there are a lot of scope to improve efficiency and improve customer experience.
Now, since you mentioned automation and AI, that AI should be able to give step 2.5 or 11, but here again, do you see any risks with this? Either we're trying to over automate business workflows or something critical which which later on you realize that, oh no, this is not something which can really be done well with AI? Are there any?
No. I think two things we need to, right? One, we need to ensure there is a governance in place, right? There needs to be some kind of governance, or what people called as guardrails, needs to be there. So for the first time, if it is going to go out of it, it needs to be verified. Okay, and I think it is quite critical, for us or for any institutions, because sometimes it is just not not a financial risk, right? It could be a reputational risk, or it could be even a life-threatening risk, right? Say someone asks for a claim, right, and then say this bot works and gives us very convoluted. A person is already under stress to get some claims, so you'll have to, right? Because the emotion part is still debatable, right? How much of the human emotion which we have when we deal with customers, how the computers can do is still, the jury is out there. But eventually, I think we will come to that part. I think regulation becomes key, guardrails becomes key. When the event happens the first time, we need to have a method to monitor that, so that there is no problem. But we'll have to, as I said, now, do we question our crafts today, right? It runs on autopilot. Do we question? No, why? We just sit there when it flies over the Pacific. And I was just reading an article, right? The Singapore, New York is the longest flight. The pilots swap mid-air, right? A new set of crew actually changes, but we don't question that anymore.
Yeah.
So I think you'll come to that stage for everything. And I know when the driverless car in San Francisco is fascinating. It is just unbelievable, right? I was there, and then all metrics were done on that, and it is, and the beauty is you can see it learning. Okay, with an empty road, I think the limit it goes is 40. It sees a road which is empty, it pushes itself to 45, comes back to 40. It pushes itself to 50, comes back to 40. Right? It learns. Yeah. Well, that's the only way, and I think we will conquer a lot of those two things pretty soon. Is my view.
So you spoke about security already around. So, and I've seen you speak about security throughout the development life cycle. How do you get that into the culture around the teams?
See, I think security, in the last, few years, all organizations have moved quite forward. I think you should thank the regulator for this. I think the regulatory push is required. See, the challenge we have is security solutions are becoming very expensive. Okay, and typically most of them are moved into a kind of an OPEX model. You've got the number of endpoints, number of users. This is what you pay, right? And typically most organizations have kind of reached 10 to 15% of the tech budget is now being spent on security, and some governments mandate it in terms of it needs to be 20%. So now you do the regulatory part. Now are you going to do much more than that is really the question, right? Because somewhere someone has to absorb the cost of doing the business. Can you push everything back to the customer? The answer is no. Right? Yeah. I think that seems to be a much more challenge, as to how anyone looks at security, but it is given that we have to do it. In terms of culture, I honestly feel we should lean more towards tools. Yes, we need to make the person educated, go through training, because we always say that the human is the weakest link because he will expose A or B. But if you have the tools, you will not, right? Because the tools will mandate that it can't be done. So, say for example, privilege access, right? In fact, the same thing we want to do, right? We are looking at it now. The challenge in privilege access, it's a human being which approves. Now I'm saying I want only a bot to approve. Remove that portion, right? Then the questions will be very tough. It will be able to analyze the situation whether you need the privilege ID or not. See, today, a lot of time when someone approves a privilege access, he does not know the nitty-gritty of why it is required, right? Because I can't know all languages, all operating system, all network. It is not possible, right? Then you go by judgment. Okay, the person whom asking is very trustful, so I'll approve. But if I put a bot, it will actually tell me what problem, why you need it, right? Then you can go step by step. And can I give an access in which only you can do that? Right? That's why I'm saying, yes, human beings need to be trained, but I think tool automation, and I think AI in cybersecurity is given. It is going to change the world. But now I don't know how much we need to spend for that. I think could be limiting in terms of what it is. And also other point, it is difficult for some organization to get the culture right, is because people don't understand hardware and software equally. Some people are very good in software, some people are very good in hardware, right? And that's where the gap comes. If someone has got knowledge of both, well, I think the security problems will be far less, right? Because when someone writes a code, he just writes a code. He doesn't realize that when it runs on a certain environment, what can it cause? It is not known to the person because you're not trained on that. So I think hopefully, AI.
We are really unable to even get people to
It's a very
do that big picture. And
the only environment in which you get that people still is the old mainframe, because mainframe you have to know how the hardware works to write software. Otherwise, it used to be very expensive. But very few people. I mean, I've been quite lucky to work in our environment. We've got a few of our CTOs who are very good on both sides, which really helps to give a better delivery.
so you have been very active on the policy side as well, and you have been speaking about given everything that's going on in India, especially the digital public infrastructure, UPI, Aadhaar, ONDC. What do you see? What excites you about all of it?
Well, see, absolutely. See, if you really, if you really take any other technology, right? So take for example, the aircrafts were always run by the government. It was then you privatized it. Same thing with telcos, right? Every telco was started with it. But if you see the modern day technology started elsewhere. It was not started by the government at all, but the government has to regulate it for multiple reasons. I think the first thing is it needs to ensure that no citizen is excluded from this. It's very easy to exclude people from this because of a new technology which comes or a new feature you bring in. Might be you'll exclude certain segment of people who will never have access to that, right? So I think the government and the politicians and the parliament in every country has a huge responsibility of making that it does not create digital divides. I think that's why that was my predominant interest.
So I think there was one version of it wherein you could see that earlier the UPI, again it was limited only to the smartphones, and the feature phones were absolutely kind of it. I think now it is
true, right? And then today I was reading an article, right? Now they are saying that you need to register, then you have got a UPI. Now can we really say that I don't want UPI? I think that's an option which you have to give.
Interesting,
right? Because if I've said that I don't want UPI, then any fraud happens, it's on someone else. But if I've not signed for it, it is grey, right? So I think we'll have to really look at those kind of things. Hence, policy making becomes very critical. That's number one. Second, if all this technology, if it creates a real chaos, who's going to? You have to pinpoint someone who made the mistake, right? Today, the tech industry will not take the mistake, right? And today, even if you see in a current regulatory landscape, the end user is responsible for everything, not the technology service provider, right? Now, slowly they're all been getting into the loop, right? Where we are saying that, hey, you also need to take responsibility, because I understand only your first layer. I really don't know what it is written. And in AI, it is much more worse, right? It is a combination of technology and data. And I don't know in what data it was trained.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know whether I have got some kind of data. So I think the role of regulators, the role of government and the policy making is extremely critical in the next. I think if from here on, I would say I think elections could be won or lost because of those in the coming years. How flexible you are, how right you are going to be, and how the government shares information between each of them. So I think it's extremely clear. I feel it is going to become part of technology. And if your understanding of policy is bad, I think we will end up building very bad solutions, my view. So I think it's quite critical for anyone in technology to understand how policy is made, how it is being banned. And I think it's extremely critical to survive in this world well.
Again, a very interesting side. On the policy side itself, do you see that this being currently, as of now, this is still the realm of humans, but do you see where this itself would be we'll be navigate through all of this using AI, that because policy again it does not really change every day. We have a policy, it's there for some time, so it's a static mostly.
Yes.
So then you have AI, and and then in the whole ecosystem, then you have it's not really humans who are looking at that day in day out, but it's all governed by AI. What do you think?
It's ever. See, because the baseline will have to be created by humans, right? Because of what it is, right? Because it is. See, bear in mind, every policy is created in an environment in which we live in and how a country operates, right? That becomes very critical. I always feel if you really take the climate problem which we have, right, and the kind of policy we write is very average, and I'm sure AI can do a better job and solve that problem, right?
Okay.
But then if you come at a country level and you say you want to lift poverty, want to make that, I don't know whether AI can do, because it is going to use the existing data to come up with. So for there, I think AI will struggle a bit to do, but I think in certain areas it can help as long as you give a good baseline. but I think you'll have to keep on, I would say, shifting left and right to ensure that we go on to meet the end goal what we need.
Interesting. Talking about back to Aditya Birla Capital itself, the way, of course, India has been evolving and there's so much happening in fintech. So, do you see Aditya Birla Capital itself evolving into a larger fintech platform?
See, this is what we always say, right? Every financial organization want to be a fintech, and every fintech wanted to have become a bank, right? So now that is where the battle is going. Now, I think we need to take aspects of fintech. See, because large corporations and institutions will have a way in which they do. And I honestly feel in India, the last 5 years, the end users have caught up significantly. I think, today, if you come to our environment, or even if you go to other large institutions, I think, Agile is a given way of working, right? People are very comfortable with Squad, Tribe, Epics, Episode. It is given. People understand security very well. And what one essentially fintech taught us is to reduce the gap between product and technology. Because otherwise product was separate, technology was separate. A product will tell what you want, someone needs to translate it, technology will deliver, right? But then if you see any fintech, your CPU can be the CTO. Or a CTO can be the CPU. That's where things, that is why what happened for them is the problem they solved is a very small problem. Mm-hmm. Because to solve the problem of the bank, understand all aspects of technology, all aspect of products, it's not possible, right? That's why fintechs ended up solving small problems extremely well in a different way, because you did not leave anything to chance, because the product and technology gap was closed. So today, if you see large organizations, that gap is closed. In many cases, people understand the product and technology very well. Credit understands all three very well. So I think we have also moved significantly. But we need to bear in mind the sheer amount of scope of the role of this company is far larger than a fintech. So always there will be a gap. You will feel that organizations are slow, but in reality, it will be like that, because I will have to have so many different considerations to solve it. So that's why today we see it with pockets of fintech. Right? They solve a particular problem, we use them, right? But the larger organization looks at it in a different way. And so you stitch multiple fintechs to solve a problem, and fintechs also have to really move on that space quite fast, right? Because if they're going to solve only one problem and they stay there, I think they will also become irrelevant. And which we are seeing in many cases, right? Fintechs do fold up, quite fast. And especially for the payment and lending space in India, we're treading in a very, very dangerous zone.
Yeah.
So that's how I would see, right? Definitely we have made, I think as a country we have made significant progress. I mean, I was going between Delhi and Agra, a few months back, right? You just come out, you open the IRCTC app, you book the train, it tells you exactly when train will connect, then half an hour delay it says you can board. Right? Imagine, 20 years back, only when you go there, they will tell you, you won't even know when the train is. Exactly. No, I mean, I think as a nation, we have moved, Digiyatra is phenomenal. I mean, it's, I get very frustrated when I do international travel that I don't have Digiyatra. Right? It just frustrates you. Yeah. Right? Because you have to stand, the guy asks for a passport, he took certain.
Now we really feel that, yes, there are elements where we are definitely at the forefront. We are leading.
Absolutely. No, I think in a lot way, right? I mean, let it be money transfer, let it be, in fact, there was a day in my travel for 4 days, I did not have my wallet, but nothing stopped me. Everything was done, right? I mean, you can't imagine this everywhere. I mean, I think it's true globally.
So this is very interesting thread. So on this, so given you have been in the thick of whole fintech innovation, here, and what are these elements, or what are these things? Anything from here which you see can be or has the potential, to solve problems for the world? Something which is happening here in the Indian fintech innovation, and something that can actually solve for the world.
See, this typically, in fact, as a part of my thesis, I was trying to do it as what I called as a cross-border digital public infrastructure, right? See, it's a bit tricky, because when you do that, when a problem happens, who takes the liability? See, governments cannot take liability for it, right? So ultimately, what will happen? You will create a company. That company will have to build a software, and you have to build a software company and then send it out. That's one option out, right? Second option is you build a company like Visa, MasterCard. Right? I mean, no one questions how Visa or MasterCard works, right? The card, same card, any acquirer, single institute is owned by the banks, but it's a typical an American company which is doing it, right? Can you create equivalent of Visa, MasterCard for this, right? Because it also boils about interoperability, or CETA, for example, or IATA, for example, right? You can use all those institutions where the idea could come from a public infrastructure. Then you have to sort it out, but you'll have to create institutions which will go and run it. It can't be tied back to the government. It's not possible. So then the questions also be who uses data, etc., etc. But those models are there.
So your like transnational DPI is
that's where the key people. Why do you reinvent the whole thing? Because it has already been solved. It is solved very nicely, and today we see, right? I mean, a lot of African countries are using some of the DPA solutions, which have been done. But in some cases, what happens is that people want to, really understand the logic of how it is created. Then it becomes a bit tricky, right? Because if I tell you that, then you know how my country operates. So it will be a bit of a challenge. But I think it is really key that we create, institutions like IATA or Visa or MasterCard, which have to be independent institutions, but which will kind of, you give the solution for the world. Because otherwise, no point in building in. Again, the problem is there you'll do only a very small incremental innovation. But you give it to an institution, they can do it much faster, deploy it faster, and it will also help. In fact, I can't remember to whom I was talking. They were talking about the kind of data airlines have today, right? They exactly know in every flight who's going. Okay, so actually you can make a correlation of if you and me, go on 10 flights together in different seats. Actually, they have that information, and people might say, look, it's a very odd coincidence, right? That in 15 days, you and me are on the same flight in two different seats. It's a challenge, right? I mean, that kind of data is available. People are asking, what do I do with that? Yeah. Can I flag it when the person checks in to seeing that whether there is anything, or it's just fascinating. So a lot of things are there. But who will do that is a question.
Yeah.
You can't give it to the respective nations to do, right? So you have to create an organization to do it.
I think there was something around this, like there was incidents wherein one of the thieves used to take flights, conduct and then like rob people there, or even like there was an incident wherein somebody was really used to take flights and steal from the cabin luggage, and they were able to find out all this by going through the data. Then it was flagged out that there was this individual who had taken so many flights in just a short span of time. I think that there is a lot that
absolutely, and then the cameras are there everywhere. If you go to big cities, you are kind of tracked. And I always say, even in the old world, you just take credit card analyze. It's just card transaction data. And just the kind of correlation you can do is just mind blowing. You see, the challenge is today we do the analysis within the customer. Yeah. Okay. The only thing is now your storage is cheap, computer is cheap. How you start doing against each customer, you are going to see. There won't be any secret in the world. It will be just it will show in your face.
From an AI perspective, again, this since we spoke about DPI, which is more open. From an AI perspective, today where we stand, where do you see this going? More on this one, of course, the closed AI ecosystem, open AIs of the world, and then there's the open source, AI ecosystem with llamas and more. Where do you see, like, will both continue, or do you see one taking over the other, or do you see something which is like, because we have seen such I don't have a better word, such wars, where there was Microsoft versus Linux, and then you had the browser wars and so on.
But I think see, at least for the next 3-4 years, all these things will coexist, right? Because we do not, DeepSeek is a great example. It came from nowhere. It says that, look, you don't need to have so much of dependency in hardware to come out as an output, right? That's my interpretation of all those things, right? Because essentially it said that I don't need GPU anymore to come up with it, right? So it's a very clever way of solving a problem. I think what we need to get into, this is how world will move on, right? So different models will come, different things will happen, and no one is going to stop, right? Because anything you do is going to have some kind of an AI built in, right? That's how we are going to, go. Definitely, that's the way forward, right? Now you can't come back on this, but what are the cost of doing it, right? If it is becoming very expensive, A versus B, people will have a tendency to choose a cheaper solution. Can you choose a cheaper solution for a cheaper? Because all problems we don't need to give the same weightage, right? I mean, versus running a nuclear plant versus running a very normal AC cooling in office, you're going to make the distinction. I think cost will play a huge role in determining these solutions. So we're going to have a layer of or a spectrum of solutions which are different cost points. Then people will start matching. It's typically like in that way, I would like say like a software, right? So if you start a company, you're not going to buy Salesforce. Do you not buy SAP? But once you reach your scale, I don't have a choice. I have to buy a Salesforce or an SAP, right? So I think it will be like that. You'll have a spectrum, and as organization goes, people will pick and choose from the spectrum to do it, and every solution will be possible. I don't think anything, but one thing which I feel is what I am interested is what is the next gadget we are going to get. I'm not sure, because phone has been there for too long.
Yeah.
And I feel it is becoming a liability now. I know as I age also it becomes very difficult to use. You carry 2-3 phones as a property. Now it's actually a very inefficient way of doing it. So now one goes on my mind is, I at least keep, if you want to run this entire thing, what we do today without a phone, what will we do? It's going to come. Sure, it just come because it is a little bit scam. And if you also see, every software revolution revolved around the hardware.
Yeah.
In the all. Before that, it was then laptops. Before that, it was PCs. It is, if you see, the hardware connection is too much. Now we'll have to go on to something else. Maybe Google Glass. I think I'm seeing a lot of Google Glass coming out again. Let's see.
On the AI side again, so there's been. I mean, you spoke already, of DeepSeek, that maybe that kind of a compute is not required, but even now where we stand in India, there was this India AI mission, and government is giving a lot of push around the compute. What do you see? This push on compute, and in this, at least for the first time, we'll see a lot more startups and businesses having access to compute. Do you see this helping the ecosystem innovate more, coming up with more or rather more innovative solutions around AI, or do you see that this isn't going to make much of a difference?
No, I think it should be there. Right? I think now the challenge with this whole AI thing is, I think out of 100 companies, in my view, only 5 or 6 are going to survive, right? Because the nature of problem which is getting solved is kind of the same, right? People, I mean, how many more chatbot AI solution do we require? I think someone is going to start that, they should really think and stop it, right? But a lot of corporate IT problems, right? Whether it is HR, finance, credit, how to train an organization is, I think there are a lot of opportunities to build solutions. I think it is very important at that time you have access to technology, right? Because some of these technologies are very expensive, right? An individual small company will not be able to buy. So I think anything which the government gives or any corporation gives in terms of just like cloud, right? 10-20 years back, it was very tough, right? The concept of cloud credits actually came slightly later. Then people started using it, and then they started innovating it and came up with a lot of solutions. I think we'll go down that same path, right? And in terms of which model to choose and which AI to choose, always there will be a bias. And I think because your corporate is so dependent on Microsoft, so I think that ecosystem will survive for a much larger time than anyone else. But I think more and more people are also saying the whole SaaS models will collapse, which I also feel a lot of SaaS models will go away because agentic AI will replace quite a number of things on those kind of things, because now you don't need anyone to do that kind of programming, right? So that kind of programming is gone. So I think it is very important that people have got access to it.
So all this entire journey, I know it will be difficult, but any one particular project or something, or any of these initiatives which you can say as your the proudest project, or the best way which you.
I think in all my companies, I think all my projects, I think there have always been, and I think it's sometimes it's also a team effort, right? You get the right team to do in a very, very nice way. I think Singapore Post, I would say every project, right? The Parcel Locker project was a phenomenal one. We moved away from mainframes without no one even realizing that. We have moved. Standard Chartered, we have done multiple integrations of buying businesses in a very, very smooth way. In our current environment, we have done fascinating implementation of our super app. by the technology team, implementation of Salesforce. See, I think I'll tell you the other way, right? What defines a good project? I think is much easier, right? Because if you do that metric, it is a great project, right? I think first is that, you actually finish it on time. I think it's a number one metric. It's not easy. Large projects to get completed on the time, very tough because you need to coordinate everything, right? And second, you do it at an acceptable cost. Okay, because sometimes you can spend a lot of money and don't get anything out of it, right? People should never feel that, oh, you've spent so much for this, right? I think that's a very, very important way of doing it. And the third one is, it should stand time. At least whatever you do, should be able to do for 5-6 years. It needs to be there. I think if you're able to do these three things, any project will be a great project.
So you spoke about cost overruns and on the budget side. How do you do it at the team level? How do you bring this understanding of that there is a cost involved to everything? How do you build this awareness and even to an extent win this autonomy at the team level? How do you bring this to the teams?
A great question. I think I always tell everyone, understand the cost structure of the organization, understand the cost structure of project. I think everyone should know, because if someone feels that my salary is X and then if I keep on getting stuck in one project, you should know that you are wasting time, right? Or you should be able to tell the same thing to the other person in a very nice way. I think it sometimes comes by experience. Okay, but I think it is very important to ensure that everyone understands the costing of project, and if people need to be trained, I think we should do that, right? And what also you will see there is a slight difference between how an end user perceives cost versus the service industry perceives cost. Okay, and we should have a good understanding of both. That's why I always tell my team, construct a project which is win-win to both. Because if you feel that you have got a good deal, actually it's a bad project, because someone is going to make it bad at some point in time. But there's nothing called as a good deal only favoring to. It should be a deal which both parties like, both parties are interested, and then you go and implement a project, it will be successful. Because there is a cost of doing, right? Sometimes we kind of bargain too much, thinking that we have got a good deal, and then I always feel those kind of projects you get only a raw deal, because it's always the other side wins. So that I think we should keep in mind.
Very interesting. What do you look for in people when you are building teams?
So I think now, as considering that fact, typically I, involved in hiring of only very senior people, or I would say, mid to senior level people. I think first thing is, from a team perspective, my view is always you should see that you don't hire someone like you. Okay, unless it is, you are really convinced that is going to solve the problem, because you can't spend time on it, right? So I think I tend to build a team which has got all kinds of skill sets, which is required at a base level. At a project level, if some skill set needs to be duplicated, it's okay. That's why one of my role a few years back, the candidate was so good, right? But I had to reject the candidate because he was an exact replica of another CIO of mine. Well, I just could not. When I told him that, look, I said I cannot hire you because everything is good unless if I think I need a backup for him. That's the only situation I will hire you. But you also come up very, because it doesn't solve the problem for me, right? Because it is quite critical that you get different skill set people who can think very differently. I also tend to like people who come from different industries. And I think that's a bias I have because of my own background, because I feel people think better. But then if you're going to do a comprehensive project, you please get someone who understands the subject very well, right? There is no scope of interpretation, but fitment. Because someone has done 15 to 20 years of experience, you're good. You can't be bad. No way you can be bad, right? But the environment in which you're going to operate, you might not have figured, right? Just like cricket, right? You don't score centuries on every pitch, right? Every pitch is different, but the game is the same. So I spend a lot of time on whether the person would fit. So I explained, a lot of times, one kind, as he said, you never asked me questions. You were saying a lot of things. I said, that's what it is, because your CV says everything. 20 years, 2 companies, I know your boss. So I'm going to call him and ask whether you like it or not. But done, right? Now, can you fit in my environment? Now, this is my environment. So my job is to keep on explaining my environment so that you make a call that, hey, this is something I want to be in. And NBFCs are very different. Okay. I mean, my current role, I'm saying people make a lot of comparison between banks and NBFCs. Banks are very different. NBFCs are very different, right? Because you don't run the liability side of a business. So hence it becomes very tough to run an NBFC. Running an NBFC is far more difficult than doing a bank. Okay, because people will say purely from a regulatory aspect, now pretty much regulation wise we are saying, but you don't have the cooked product, right? Where you don't have a checking or a savings account, but you have to sell everything else. It's not easy. Some people will struggle because they don't know what to do, right? First thing they will say is, okay, where do I get a list? We don't have a list. So you have to think about that, right? I think.
So as you mentioned, you are as part of a job, you're really looking to create the next set of leaders.
So good.
How do you do that? How do you spot the next set of leaders in your teams?
See, I think for me to spot is not very difficult, right? But to make that person acceptable to the larger organization is the difficult part. Because everyone has got a view on that person. Everyone has got a view on me. And same way, right? I've got a view on everyone, right? So to identify talent from that perspective, whether the person can run a technology organization, I really don't think it is very difficult. And then what happens in these cases, you see, if you take, I've got 6 distinct functions under me. If I'm going to move someone to my role, he has done only 1/6 of my job, technically. Because he might not have done infrastructure, right? He might not have done data. He would have done only development. So I think, again, I spend a lot of time to identify the talent and how to socialize and get others acceptable, I think is a much more difficult task. Second, I think whether people understand their own performance. I think that is very important. See, sometimes people always feel that they are doing good. But I think it is very important. I kind of tend to like people say, actually, I did not do this very well, or I've done this extremely well. So are they able to differentiate their own performance, right? And what you have done in last year is past. It is every year they need to reset and move on. I think that is a very important skill set to do. And third is understanding of the customer, right? Whether you're doing all these things, do you have an understanding of a real customer? And it is even for me, it has taken a lot of time to build that. It was not very easy, right? Because you write very fancy programs behind, you get excited about the technology, but there is no customer to actually use that, product, right? I think in the modern day tech, if that could be the number one skill, if you don't have a good understanding of customer, I don't think you can be a good technologist. So I think these are the 3 things which I would say.
Talking about, this performance and, how look at it. Was there a point in your journey where I'd say maybe like where you failed or where you hit like, yes, this is it's like a rock bottom in your journey? Anywhere, anything failed, you failed, something happened?
So see, failure, failure, it would be individual project failures. Everyone goes through 1 or 2 individual project failures, and then you quickly recover from that. Okay, because in Nand we don't have an R&D kind of a failure, right? We either have a software failure or a project management failure, which you will take it. I think one of my roles in CIMB was quite difficult because I used to run both technology and operations together, and it is known in public search. And so we had a very huge incident, a data incident, right? So what happened because of that? I had to completely rethink about my job and do it, and it took a lot of time. But I did not have that kind of time. So I won't say it is kind of failure, but that's what I tell people in very large jobs. You need to really ensure that you don't end up in the situation of where there is a very large mistake. Then it becomes a bit of time for you to correct, because that's the nature of it, right? You can't run away from it. But of course, that taught me so many things as to how you need to manage, how you need to do. So I would still say the positives, was much more than the negatives. But that was one tough role which I've done.
How does your North Star personally, professionally look like in the next 5 years? What are you looking up to?
Oh, see, for me, I think to how do we really change the way we work? I think that would be the critical kind of thing where I'm moving, right? I think in terms of saying that, look, AI is real, AI is going to come. Then how are things going to change? How are you going to create an impact? And in terms of also giving better customer experience, ensuring don't have a digital divide, sort out the policy aspects of all these times, because that is something which we need to do. Because if you really just keep AI outside, all the remaining technology, in my view, have reached steady state. Whatever the greatest thing in cloud we saw in last 2 years, nothing. Whatever the greatest mobile thing we have seen, nothing. What is the greatest thing in data we have seen? Nothing, right? So that means technology has also reached steady state, right? So there is no reason for anyone to say why you will fail in all this. You cannot fail, right? But AI is new. Now you're going to do an overlay of AI everywhere. So that's the kind of direction you need to think as to how you do. That means you've got basic concepts right, basic theories right, implementations right. Now, how do you do AI and change the world is something which you'll have to work on. And that's really, I think, I'm looking at. And second thing is that, as I said, how cybersecurity will move on, how will it be secure better at an acceptable cost is something which at least, I keep thinking about it quite a lot.
So interacting with you, I realized that who has been very curious in all this while you're moving from chemistry, biology, and in all of this. How do you maintain this curiosity and while being such a demanding role? How do you avoid burnout at this scale?
I think I know what I don't like, and of course it's the ends. It also is a context to a role, right? It becomes very difficult. You are in a role and you don't like it. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, I've never been in that situation. So what I don't like, I don't spend too much of time. Okay, because so then what happens is then you can't have a kind of thing on which you spend time on, right? So it gives you that ability to, because a lot of time people keep on figuring out whether I like it or I don't like it. And I think I've been very lucky that cycle was very, very short for me. And even in my college days, I've done certain courses. Day one, I will decide that I will not read that course. Oh, that's it. It is not for. That's an amazing. I will just throw it. I still remember differential equation. I said, this is absolutely not for me. Anyone can try teaching it. I will not learn. I think I've been lucky. I think I've been lucky, and it has not failed me big time. Might be, I don't know, but some others might say, no, it has failed you. I don't think it has failed me. So then it is a, but I think that is where the curiosity comes, right? You kind of, you like it, you try it out quickly, you throw it off, but then you take it to the next step. But talk to people. I speak to, a lot of people. I mean, my weekends are, like this. We've got a group of friends who just meet and just talk, right? What will happen, what could change. So those things help me to really have that kind of thing. And then if I really like it, then I go to second, third, fourth, fifth level. So I don't leave it, because sometimes a lot of level 1 things that helps you in a certain way, but it is always good to go some of the things a little deeper so that you really have certain kind of knowledge on that. Now, agentic AI is like that, right? I'm sure it is true for a lot of people, but then way I have thought and my team are thinking and doing something, I really feel in the next 6 to 8 months, you will come up with something very different.
Interesting. And I must say, knowing what you don't like and being able to take a decision, that's amazing level of clarity. And you must be dealing with a lot of younger tech leaders as well. Is there anything which you see as maybe, I don't have a correct word, but maybe a mistake which you see the younger leaders making right now? Or
Yeah, it's a topic for itself, but I honestly feel leadership is actually a bestowed quality. Okay, you can be very good, you can do anything, but it always someone sees that and gives it. I honestly feel you can't be your own leader. It is in, because I think I've seen a lot of people in my own life, and you realize why this person is not very good. He's good in everything, but why has he not, been the kind of recognition he's got, right? Because someone at some point, especially in corporate life, if someone decides to give that to you, right, based on like what you said, certain qualities, I might give it to that person, but on that day I might not differ. And then you also have that you can't make everyone a leader, right? Because you need different skills. And I always, give an example of, if you really recall Botham's Ashes, many years back, they got Mike Birla back as captain of England after England have lost the first 2 test matches, right? They will tell Eric Botham, you don't need to be captain. Birla will be the captain, and England will win the series 3-2. Okay. And the beauty of that series is Botham never became the captain of England, and they just asked Birla to go back. That's all, right? ECB at that point in time thought he was a right guy to run the team, and that's it. Once it was over, it is over. Oh, he cannot say that, look, I have won, now I need to be a leader. It doesn't exist. And that had a huge impact on me as to how people look at how you perform. People look at how you perform on that day, on that. That's why sometimes sports example to corporates are very unfair. Because in sports, if you don't perform, you're gone.
Yeah.
If you perform very well, you can get a recognition or not get a recognition. Right? But this part is very clear, right? You can't score 6 zeros and then be in a team. You're out. But in corporate, that is very grey. You can still be very bad and survive for a very long. So I think that's how I see it. But people should really understand that leadership, yes, you might have all qualities, but you need to convince someone that you are a good leader. And sometimes people don't do that. People feel that, oh, I am convinced I am a leader, so I need to be a leader. It doesn't work that way. You have to go convince people that you are good at it.
Correct. So we'll just do a rapid fire now. Book or podcast?
Book.
Last book that you read?
It's called as Singularity of Nature, where biology, physics, chemistry meets.
Okay, I'll add it to my list. One gadget you can't live without?
My phone.
Morning routine or productivity ritual?
None. I would still do morning routine.
Okay. One myth about being a CTO that people have, you think?
CTO can solve all the problems.
Okay. If not tech, what you be doing today?
Chemistry teacher, 100%.
What would be one word that your team would use to describe your leadership style?
Unpredictable.
Wow. Okay, then the final question would be one message to every technology guy tuning into this podcast. What it to be?
I think procedural listening technology is a very broad subject, right? So I think people should not try to conquer everything in the theme of technology. It could be hardware engineering, you could be software, you could be program management, you could be product, you could be finance for technology. Just ensure that where we are architecture, just ensure that where you fit in, but ensure that you are very good at that. Okay, you should know everything, but I think there are 2 or 3 things people should be very good at it, to be a good PTO or a CI.
So jack of all trades, but master.
Whether you like it or not, the whole team model, it makes sense. Because see, when you know that, then you can organize your team accordingly, right? Because people also at that level look at you for what you are good at, and otherwise it is very difficult to convince people, and especially in the technology world, people do expect that if I come to you with this problem, you will solve, and then you will have to solve it, and that core competency needs to be demonstrated very clear.
Okay, great. I think that's done. Good. Super. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks a lot for taking the time. I'll leave the tough job to the editors of this. No, really, taking time on a Sunday afternoon.
Done right.
We are always hesitant in asking you because that's usually
Weekends are good for me.
Weekends are family time, friends time, and you already said you love meeting people are on Sundays.
It's very neat and easy for me. I don't need to think too much because Monday to Fridays are very tough.
Great.
Excellent. Thanks for accommodating me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
होप ये पॉडकास्ट आपको पसंद आया होगा. अगर हाँ तो लाइक करें, शेयर करें अपने मित्रों के साथ, और प्लीज़ डोंट फॉरगेट टू सब्सक्राइब आवर चैनल. एंड यस, डोंट फॉरगेट टू प्रेस द बेल आइकन ताकि आपको नोटिफिकेशंस मिलते रहें हमारे हर नए एपिसोड्स के बारे में. एंड मिलते हैं एक नए एपिसोड में हमारे नए गेस्ट के साथ. टिल देन, थैंक यू.